In our headlines on this Friday, April 17th, here in South Korea, U.S. President Donald Trump claims diplomatic delegations from Washington and Tehran may meet in Islamabad to seal a peace deal this weekend, as Iran has, quote, agreed to almost everything. Meanwhile, President Jae Myung will join a virtual global summit on this Friday, led by his counterparts in the UK and France, aimed at ensuring freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. Also, here on the local front, for those of you here who have yet to make weekend plans, do think about a trip to the local theatre to watch the new horror film Salmokji Whispering Water that has been receiving haunting reviews. U.S. President Donald Trump claims diplomatic delegations from Washington and Tehran may meet in Islamabad for peace talks this weekend, and that he might be there as well. Our Kim Do-yeon has the latest.
U.S. President Donald Trump says a comprehensive agreement with Iran is within reach, claiming Tehran has agreed to almost all American terms to halt its nuclear weapons program. Speaking to reporters on Thursday local time, Trump stated that the two sides are close to finalizing a deal to end the conflict.
We had to make sure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. And we're at that. They've agreed to that. They've totally agreed to that. They've agreed to almost everything.
Negotiations are expected to resume this weekend, with Trump naming Islamabad, Pakistan as a potential venue to finalize the agreement.
I would go to Pakistan, yeah. Pakistan has been great. They've been so good. Islamabad, I might go, yeah.
While projecting optimism on the diplomatic front, the U.S. president publicly criticized Pope Leo XIV regarding the ongoing crisis. Trump claimed the pontiff supports Tehran possessing a nuclear weapon, a statement the Vatican has not made, using the assertion to defend its administration's hardline approach.
I'm not fighting with him. The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon. I say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the Pope looked at the 42,000 people that were killed over the last 2 or 3 months as a protester with no weapons, no nothing, I mean, you take a look at that. So I can disagree with the Pope. I have a right to disagree. I have a right to disagree with the Pope.
Domestically, the Trump administration cleared a major legislative hurdle to maintain its current military posture. The U.S. House of Representatives narrowly rejected a war powers resolution designed to force a halt to U.S. military strikes against Iran. The Democrat-led measure failed in a 214 to 213 vote, allowing current operations to continue without congressional interference as the administration pursues a final negotiated settlement. The ongoing ceasefire, in an attempt to come to an agreement between the U.S. and Iran, will end next Wednesday. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, a 10-day truce between Israel and Lebanon has been declared by U.S. President Donald Trump and reaffirmed by his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu. But as our Isingje says, tensions remain in place.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced on Thursday that Israel and Lebanon have agreed to a 10-day ceasefire after 6 weeks of fighting between Israeli forces and the Iran-backed group Hezbollah. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed Israel's participation, but said troops will remain in a 10-kilometer security zone in southern Lebanon, signaling no immediate withdrawal during the truce.
I agreed to a pause, or more accurately, to a temporary ceasefire of 10 days, to try to move forward with the agreement we began discussing during the ambassadors' meeting in Washington.
Hezbollah expressed conditional support, saying any ceasefire must include a complete halt to attacks across Lebanon and no freedom of movement for Israeli forces. The group warned that any continued military presence would justify armed resistance. The conflict began in early March following joint U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran, which prompted Hezbollah to launch rockets into northern Israel. Since then, more than 2,000 people in Lebanon have been killed, over 1 million displaced, and tens of thousands of homes damaged or destroyed. Israel reports limited civilian casualties, but confirmed military losses in the fighting. In the hours before the ceasefire, both sides continued cross-border strikes. Rare direct talks were also held in Washington, with Trump proposing a future White House meeting with Netanyahu and Lebanese President Joseph Aoun. However, major issues remain unresolved, especially the future of Hezbollah's weapons. Lebanese officials say disarmament cannot be forced and must come through negotiation, raising doubts about whether the ceasefire will lead to lasting peace. Previous ceasefires between Israel and Hezbollah have failed to hold, with clashes continuing even after agreements took effect, suggesting this truce may offer only a temporary pause in the conflict. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung will join a global summit online on this Friday, led by his counterparts in the UK and France, aimed at ensuring freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. Our Chung Hye-rim reports.
President Lee Jae-myung will join a virtual summit led by the UK and France on Friday Korea Standard Time, according to the Blue House. The initiative, co-chaired by French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, seeks a multilateral solution to secure passage through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most vital shipping lanes. Around 70 to 80 participants, including countries and international organizations, have been invited. A senior presidential official said that Seoul decided to join the talks, citing both national and global interests. The official added that President Lee may deliver remarks during the meeting, and staff were preparing for this possibility. The meeting's agenda covers a broad range of issues, with a heavy focus on energy supply chains and the broader conflict in the Middle East. However, the official stressed that this international mission will be strictly defensive in nature. The talks come as the United Kingdom is distancing itself from Washington's current policy. Prime Minister Starmer said earlier this week that Britain could not support a proposed blockade of the Strait of Hormuz by U.S. President Donald Trump. France has also emphasized the need to restore free navigation, with President Macron calling for a coordinated, strictly defensive multinational effort. Macron added that the mission will only commence once hostilities in the Middle East have officially ended. Analysts say Friday's summit could help align separate diplomatic and security tracks into a more unified international response. Chung Hye-rim, Arirang News.
Here in South Korea, overseas travel is looking to become even more expensive as airlines are poised to further raise surcharges as jet fuel prices continue to soar. Our economics correspondent Kim Jun-hong touches upon this costly repercussion of the conflict in the Middle East.
People heading overseas through Incheon International Airport say their next trips may not come anytime soon.
I'm traveling to San Francisco and Los Angeles, but going overseas is definitely starting to feel more expensive.
I planned a graduation trip to Europe, but it's become too expensive, so I've decided to delay it.
As the U.S.-Iran war stretches beyond 6 weeks, fuel surcharges have jumped to record highs, rising multiple times compared to before the war. With jet fuel prices surging due to the prolonged tensions, airlines are raising surcharges at a rapid pace. According to the aviation industry, the benchmark used to set next month's fuel surcharge, the average price of Singapore jet fuel from March 16 to April 15th rose to about $5.10 per gallon. That pushes the surcharge to the highest bracket, level 33. The surcharge stood at level 6 before the war, but in the space of just 2 months, it surged past level 18 to reach 33, marking the fastest increase on record. This surpasses the previous peak of level 22 seen during the Russia-Ukraine war. Pressure on the airline industry is building quickly. Fuel typically accounts for about 30% of an airline's operating costs, so a surge in jet fuel prices is bound to hit earnings hard. And with limited room to pass on those costs through surcharges alone, airlines are coming under strain. An industry official told Arirang that fuel surcharges cannot be raised freely as they are capped under a tiered system. Once the highest tier is reached, as in May, surcharges can no longer be raised even if jet fuel prices continue to climb. That leaves airlines to absorb the extra cost themselves, putting growing pressure on their bottom line. Facing mounting pressure, most airlines have shifted into emergency management mode. Some are taking steps to cut costs, including unpaid leave for cabin crew and route reductions. Kim Junong, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung has reminded public officials about the immense responsibility entrusted upon them to manage public resources. Speaking at a progress briefing on government-funded research institutes at the Blue House earlier on this Friday, he asserted that their authority and budgets come entirely from the public. He also emphasized the impact of their decisions on the daily lives of people and urged them to do their best. Up next, we share with you the story of a wolf that ran away from the zoo in the city of Daejeon before being caught safe and sound days later. Our Ian Jin covers the fortunate tale of this furry fugitive.
A 2-year-old wolf named Neukgu escaped from Daejeon Old World Zoo on April 8th between 9 and 9:30 a.m. Neukgu was captured and transferred back to the zoo's veterinary hospital in the early hours of Friday. Medical examinations confirmed that all its vital signs, including pulse and body temperature, are within normal ranges, but further monitoring will be needed as the anesthesia wears off. According to the Daejeon Fire Headquarters and search authorities, the wolf was spotted at approximately 11:45 p.m. Thursday night near an expressway about 2 kilometers away from the zoo. Search teams successfully captured the animal using a tranquilizer gun at around 12:45 a.m. Friday. According to officials, the search started immediately after its escape, with hundreds deployed. There had been a couple of times when authorities got close, but Neukgu remained evasive. Even South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung publicly prayed for Neukgu's safe return in a post on social media. Neukgu's escape caused public concern for the animal's safety, but also the general public's, with a wild animal on the loose. Animal rights groups were also concerned whether Neukgu would be returned alive, as a puma that escaped from the same zoo in 2018 was killed during the capture process. Criticism also arose regarding the management of Old World's lax security system, raising calls for a comprehensive review of the animal care environment to prevent a recurrence. Born in 2024, Neukgu is part of a program at Old World to restore the Korean wolf, which once roamed the Korean peninsula but is now considered extinct in the wild. Ian Jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, for those of you here who have yet to make weekend plans, do think about a trip to the local theatre to watch the new horror film Salmokji, Whispering Water, that has been garnering haunting reviews. Our culture correspondent Park Gawn-woo tells us why.
A must-see movie in Korea right now is Salmokji, Whispering Water, a horror film about eerie events unfolding at a haunted reservoir. The film has drawn over 1 million viewers as of Friday, the 10th day since its release, while surpassing its break-even point of 700,000 within a week. No film released in Korea this year has reached that milestone quicker.
The real site has long been associated with local ghost stories, with rumors that spirits are often seen in the area. This has fueled public curiosity, which in turn has helped drive interest in the film and its success.
It has also held on to top spot at the box office for several consecutive days, raising expectations that it could become one of the biggest horror hits in recent years. This is even more surprising as a horror film, typically considered a niche genre, is performing well despite the recent slump in the cinema industry.
Since Exuma, there has been a perception that Korean audiences favor occult films. Building on that momentum, recent hits like The King's Warden have helped draw viewers back to cinemas as people are once again rediscovering the appeal of a theater experience.
But the popularity doesn't stop at cinemas as viewers are expanding their experience by visiting the actual filming location late at night. In recent days, hundreds of cars have been gathering at the site, turning it into something of a pilgrimage.
We see about 20 visitors during the day, but around 100 to 200 vehicles come almost nightly. The number isn't dying down and actually continues to rise, so we're staying alert.
Due to safety concerns, the local government of Yesangun County in Chungcheongnam-do Province, where the real Salmokji is located, has recently prohibited visits from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. the following day. The county also noted that it'll enhance safety measures by installing additional CCTV cameras and nighttime lighting, while seeking to help visitors make the most of their experience from the film to the location where it was filmed. Park Gonu, Arirang News.
And in other news now, the UN Memorial Cemetery here in South Korea marks its 75th anniversary this year. In light of this occasion and the ongoing wars across the world, my colleague Kim Bo-kyung made her way to the cemetery with a prayer for the fallen and a reminder about the importance of peace. Do take a listen.
The only UN memorial cemetery in the world where a 17-year-old Australian soldier lies after fighting during the so-called Forgotten War. The UN Memorial Cemetery in Korea marked its 75 years of history since its establishment in 1951. After being under UNC and UN management until 1974, it began to be managed jointly by 11 countries under the name of the International Commission. Following the transition of authority, most of the archives were transferred overseas, but the UNMCK was able to obtain some this year.
네, 20장의 사진이 있는데 이 중 가장 눈여겨볼 만한 사진이 혹시 뭘까요?
저는 뭐 다 좋습니다만 그중에서 가장 눈에 띄는 거는 이 사진인 것 같습니다. 왜냐하면 1951년도 4월 6일 75년 전에 유엔 기념공원이 처음 만들어진 이 헌정식하는 사진인데요. 그 당시에 그 유엔군 사령관, 메가드 사령관 다음이죠. 그분이 지금 현재 경례를 하면서 여기에 그 헌정식을 갖다가 대표하는 이런 모습입니다. 그래서 그 소위 말하는 여기에 계시는 분들에 대해서 존경의 표시도 되고, 그리고 우리 유엔 기금의 75년을 처음 알리는 신호도 돼서 소위 말하는 저로서는 이 여기를 담당하고 있는 저로서는 굉장히 소중한 그런 사진으로 제가 여기고 있습니다.
네.
예.
The pictures of soldiers looking at the last remains of a deceased comrade to ascertain his identity, and the interment ceremony of Lieutenant Colonel Marinus den Oden, the commanding officer of the Netherlands forces, show how sincere the country was to honor the fallen soldiers even during the war. After so many years, more than 2,300 fallen soldiers from 14 countries have been laid to rest. The UNMCK honors the anniversary of each of the soldiers' deaths with a flag and a chrysanthemum that day. The place started as a site to remember fallen soldiers during the Korean War, but for 75 years it has become more than that. Now it is a site for diplomacy, a site that delivers a message of peace to us and to future generations.
So I was checking the ages of the soldiers, between 20 and 24 years old, coming from different countries. They are really gone in the flower of their age, and I always question myself about why. It's the question to every war. I still cannot find an answer to it. Especially today, we are also witnessing the war in Iran, in Lebanon, so this connects a lot with each other.
Serving as a meaningful venue where global leaders can better understand a key chapter of Korean history and strengthen bilateral ties, the custodian now hopes to see more descendants visit and connect with this place.
So many visitors who came here are a little bit older generations. I would like the young generations to come here to know what place it is. So as a part of that effort, this year we are making effort to collaborate with the very much influential cartoonist.
From a resting place for the fallen to a symbol of peace, as the UNMCK looks ahead to the next 75 years, it hopes this place will continue to resonate across generations. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News, Busan.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. Russia launched its deadliest attack on Ukraine this year overnight on Wednesday, killing at least 17 people. The massive wave of drone and missile strikes across Kyiv, Odessa, and Dnipro also left more than 100 people wounded. In Kyiv, a drone slammed into an 18-story apartment building in the early morning hours. 4 people died in the capital, 8 in Odessa, where a high-rise residential building took a direct hit, and 4 more in Dnipro, where Russian strikes set residential buildings ablaze. Rescue operations were still ongoing Thursday, with officials warning the toll could rise. Ukraine struck back at Russia, hitting 2 oil depots in Crimea and a major oil refinery port on the Black Sea. President Zelensky said the attack proved Russia deserves no easing of sanctions and called on the international community to deliver every promised package of military assistance without delay. The White House is moving to give federal agencies access to Anthropic's most powerful and closely guarded AI model, Mythos, even as senior officials warn the tool could dramatically increase cybersecurity risk if it falls into the wrong hands. The White House Office of Management and Budget told officials at the Pentagon, Treasury, Justice Department, and other top agencies on Tuesday that safeguards are being put in place, with more details in the coming weeks. Anthropic has so far limited Mythos to a small group of technology and financial firms after internal testing showed the model could uncover the kind of critical software vulnerabilities that only the world's best hackers could find. Europe has roughly 6 weeks of jet fuel left. That's according to the head of the International Energy Agency on Thursday, who warned that if the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked, flight cancellations could begin soon. Calling the current situation the largest energy crisis the world has ever faced, the IEA chief said that without a permanent reopening of the waterway by end of May, countries could slide toward recession. He added that even with a peace deal, war damage to the region's energy facilities could take up to 2 years to fully repair. 6 days after splashing down in the Pacific, the Artemis II crew faced the cameras in Houston on Thursday and said that a landing on the moon is closer than people think. Mission Commander Reed Wiseman said if a lunar lander had been aboard, at least 3 of his crewmates would have tried to land on the moon right then and there. Wiseman called the next step technically challenging, but absolutely doable and coming soon. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
It was a cool day today with rain tapering off at different times across the country. The rain will ease up in Chungcheong province by tonight, in southern regions by tomorrow morning, and on Jeju Island by tomorrow afternoon. Mountainous areas of Jeju Island could see over 100 millimeters of rain, with heavy downpours of 20 to 30 millimeters per hour at times. Southern regions will see around 5 to 60 millimeters, while Chungcheong province will see less than 5 millimeters. Strong winds are also expected on Jeju Island and along the southern coast, with wind gusts reaching 15 to 20 meters per second. Meanwhile, dry weather advisories are still in place across parts of the central areas and Gyeongsang-Bukdo province, although some of these may be lifted as the rain moves in. Tomorrow, Seoul will start the day at 10 degrees Celsius, Chuncheon at 8 degrees, Busan at 15 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 27 degrees, Daejeon at 26 degrees, Daegu at 25 degrees. Looking ahead to the weekend, skies will gradually clear nationwide. Daytime temperatures will climb back above 25 degrees, bringing back warm, almost early summer-like weather.
right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session, so do stay with us. And as always, thank you for now.